Mr. President, to this great assembly of heads of state and government, the Secretary General, distinguished representative, and to you, Mr. President, I bring the greetings of the government and the people of Nepal, as well as the best wishes of His Majesty King Birendra Bir Vikram Sahadev for the success of the 50th anniversary session of the United Nations. On this historic occasion, allow me first of all to reiterate my country's deep and abiding commitment to the principles and purposes enshrined in the United Nations Charter, whose ideals of peace, justice, and progress continue to sustain the hope of humanity. For a country which is the birthplace of Buddha, the foremost of the apostles of peace and non-violence, for over 2.5 millenniums, these ideals together with the concept of tolerance, understanding, and equality are values which are rooted deep in our national psyche and culture. It is a tribute to the vision of the founding fathers of our organization and the seminal ideas which have guided the United Nations in its first half century should also prepare us for its second. Perhaps the greatest achievement of our organization has been its ability to adapt to the changing conditions and work towards its goal even in the face of inhospitable international environment. As a result, there is a greater room for hope in the world today. The specter of the global nuclear catastrophe, which has haunted humanity since 1945, is less threatening now with the end of the Cold War. The abhorrent practice of colonialism that once justified the subjugation of nations and peoples is no longer acceptable. The noble concept of the preventive diplomacy and international peacekeeping introduced by the United Nations have helped diffuse international crisis situations and prepare the groundwork for peace making, the reward of which we are becoming increasingly visible in the once conflict-prone region of the globe. Similarly, the organization's functional approach to peace has provided economic relief to the less privileged region of the world and restored human dignity to the neglected segment of our global society. As we seek solace in these achievements, during the special commemorative meeting, we would not be casting aspersion on the abilities of the United Nations by suggesting that much more needs to be done as we approach the dawn of the next century. While we are currently caught in a dilemma between our efforts to forge a new world order and face the reality of a global disorder, there is a strong need to reinforce some of its mechanisms to cope with the demanding times. These relates to expansion of the Security Council, a more efficient management of the Secretariat, and greater democratization of international relations by extending the authority of the General Assembly, truly representative body of the United Nations. There is also an equally palpable need to better coordinate the activities between our organization and its programs, funds, specialized agencies, and other international development institutions, particularly with an eye towards enhancing the role of grassroots movements of the citizen groups. Lately, these movements focusing on social, gender, population, environment, and human rights issues have not only become a strong international force in their own right, but also been justified in expecting more from this global institution. For its part, Nepal will support a coordinated examination of studies aimed at the strengthening the organization, particularly those measures which also seek to free it from the vagaries of its insecure financial base. Ever since we joined the United Nations, Nepal has supported and participated actively in the peacekeeping and the peace-building efforts of the organizations. Our efforts in this direction will continue as we look forward to participating in the new initiative for a standby United Nations force designed to enable it to respond to any call for assistance in time. Nepal sees no substitute for a United Nations that is both robust in standing and responsive to the need of global security and the progress of its individual member nations. With the current preoccupation of the organization in many new civil and regional conflicts, its activities on the development side have been weakened. The much talked about peace divided in a post-Cold War era that proved so far to be elusive as the condition of the least developed and landlocked countries continue to decline. It would be unfortunate if things were left in their present state, especially when the developing countries with their weak economic base have to cater to the dictate of the market mechanism alone. Today, nations seek social and economic development within a framework of political freedom, justice, where the right of individuals to live in dignity are respected. It is therefore not enough for governments to pay lip service to these principles. They have to deliver the goods to the people by uplifting them from dire economic conditions and providing them with a political stability to enjoy the fruit of freedom and prosperity. The United Nations exemplify a global dream and has no fear in matching the aspiration of men and women everywhere. It is a dream of a world in which the strong and well-to-do are comfortable with their power and seek to act with confidence in magnanimity. It is a dream where the weak and the less fortunate can feel secure when seeking to work for greater international harmony. For this collective vision of our world, we in Nepal continue to remain committed to the ideals of United Nations. I thank you.